I, female 29, am a huge nerd and bookworm, so my book collection is rather impressive. However, my boyfriend of 3 years, David, 32, and I have just moved in together, which is proving to be more challenging than I originally thought. As mentioned above, my book collection is rather large, but he never mentioned anything about it, and the books will be in my office anyway. I work from home. However, there is a slight issue he has always had that he only now mentioned. I was raised trilingual, and I learned English later in life as well. So technically I speak 4 languages, with English being my weakest, so I apologize for any mistakes. Because of that, my book collection is rather diverse, including books in all 4 languages. If I can, I prefer to read in the language it was originally written in, and only reach for translations if I don't speak the language. This has never been a problem, and David never mentioned anything about this until now. He was helping me unpack the books, and I noticed that he put all the non-English books in a separate pile. I asked him about that, and he said we didn't need them and to throw them away. I said that you never throw books away, you donate them instead, but I didn't plan on getting rid of any of my books. He argued that it was pointless to keep books not in English, as they only take up space and they're only for show, and no one but me even reads them. I told him they're my books. I could consider downsizing my collection if it was a space issue, but since we have the space and they're in my office, I'm not getting rid of them. He got really annoyed, so I told him that I didn't need his help anymore. Yesterday, I went for coffee with a friend, and when I got home, I found my bookshelves mostly empty, with some candles and figurines placed where my books used to be. I asked David where my books were, and he told me it was a surprise, and I came home too early. His mother helped him get rid of all my useless books. He bagged them up, put them in his car, and was about to take them to the skip. I was absolutely furious, and he told me I could always replace them with books in English. I grabbed all my books and went to my office. I installed a lock on my office door so he can't throw them away, but I'm so very confused about all of this. Then to top it off, his sisters called me, one of them screaming her head off because I'm an inconsiderate C-word and to get off my high horse and stop pretending I'm better than everyone else. Am I the idiot here? Am I really wrong about not wanting to get rid of my books? Wow, he threw away your books? Even though he knew you wanted them, even though you had plenty of room for them, and he didn't even have to look at them since they were in your office, because they made him feel inadequate since they were in languages he couldn't read? Oh, and he involved his mother. Girl, tell him to move out immediately. This relationship is absolutely over. Remember that abusers often use big milestones like moving in, getting married, or pregnancy to escalate the abuse. This is just the first step of many he'll take in asserting control over you. Get out now before it gets really bad, and it's already really bad. Absolutely. Keep the books, throw away the boyfriend. The idea that he'd surprise you by throwing away your treasured possessions is just mind-boggling. If you had vinyl, would he tell you that streaming is just fine and throw that away for you? Or will he decide that there's no reason to vacation anywhere, that they don't speak English? This guy and his family seem like a poor match for you. Do you really want to combine households with someone so clueless about what matters to you? Who made him king? Why does he think that he can just take your stuff? And what qualifies him to decide which books to keep and which to toss? You are underreacting. Get away from this man and his family. Do you really want to be permanently connected to a family who will steal and dispose of your belongings behind your back? Imagine raising a child with this man and his busybody mother and sister. Awful. Get out while you can. The lock on your door won't change who you live with. It honestly baffles me that you even have to consider if you're the idiot. Your boyfriend and his sister are clearly jealous and are upset that you're trilingual. I might be stretching here, but it could also be a case of internalized prejudice against certain languages or races. I think you should seriously consider the option of separation. It'll only get worse. Dump him and find someone who wants you to shine. My girlfriend, 26, and I, 29 male, recently moved to a new city for a great career opportunity for me. When I got the job, I asked her if she wanted to move to the new city with me, and she agreed. She quit her job to come with me, and I told her I could support us while she looked for a new job. She said that she also wanted to focus on finishing a book she's been working on while looking for a job at the same time. We moved here about 6 months ago. I have a 10-year-old dog that I've had since college. He's a smaller dog, only about 25 pounds. Since my girlfriend is at home during the day, she takes him for walks. On one of her walks, she met a single mom, Beth, and they quickly became friends. I was pleased that my girlfriend was able to find someone to make the new city more comfortable for her. Last Saturday, my girlfriend took my dog to Beth's house while I was working on a home improvement project. She was there for 3 to 4 hours. Early Sunday morning, my dog began to act weird. I asked my girlfriend if anything had happened at Beth's house the day before, like if he had eaten anything he shouldn't have. My girlfriend called Beth, and Beth confirmed that she didn't see my dog eat anything. I asked my girlfriend to ask Beth if she had given her kids grapes as a snack while my dog was there. I saw my girlfriend's face turn white on the phone. After she hung up, she said that Beth had given her kids grapes as snacks, and her preschooler told her they were playing a game with the dog and giving him grapes. They have no idea how many my dog ate. I immediately took my dog to the emergency vet. They started treatment immediately, but wanted to keep him for observation. He needed to stay for over 48 hours, but he'll live. Unfortunately, there's still a very high possibility that he'll have lifelong complications because no one knows how many grapes he had. The total bill is almost $5,000. I told my girlfriend that I want her and/or Beth to either cover the cost or help with it. She said that Beth is a single mom, and she's not going to ask her to help pay for such a huge bill. She also said that she doesn't have that kind of money because she has yet to find a job. I told her that it's time she gets a job ASAP then. She started making excuses about how the kids didn't know what they were doing, so it really was just an accident. I told her that if she and Beth had been watching my dog and the kids, then this wouldn't have happened. And since they were the two adults in this situation, it's on them to properly supervise the kids and dog. She said it's unreasonable for me to expect Beth to pay so much for an accident. I told her that if my dog had injured one of Beth's kids, then obviously I would be expected to help pay for any costs related to that. So I don't see how this is any different. She's refusing to even ask Beth to pay and is begging me not to confront Beth about it on my own because she doesn't want to lose her only friend here. Not the idiot. Your girlfriend should have been more aware of the dangerous issues when she decided to take your dog out. The dog was in her care. You're headed for trouble if you told your girlfriend that you would cover her expenses while she looks for a job, and she told you that she wanted to write a book before that. And now she says she can't pitch in to fix a problem that she's responsible for. The red flags are waving like crazy here. Dude, you're unlikely to get either one of them to pay. You don't say how long you've been with this woman, but her initial mishandling of your dog and her reaction to the event afterward is pretty bad. The money would only be one of my concerns. I would definitely insist that she and Beth go halfsies. Disagree. You are the idiot if you expect Beth to pay. It was your girlfriend's responsibility to take care of your dog. It was not Beth's responsibility. Your girlfriend brought the dog to a home with a young child and then ignored the dog. Beth shouldn't be held responsible for your girlfriend's negligence. The real question is, would you rather pay $5,000 or lose your girlfriend? Mooching girlfriend can't even watch your dog properly. There's no job search. You're being taken advantage of. Take a step back and think about the outcome of this. She does not intend to get a job or pay her way. My ex, 39 male, and I, 40 female, share a son, 20. We divorced when our son was 5 because my ex came out to me as gay. Right after our divorce, my ex became an absent parent for the next 6 years of my son's life. It wasn't until he settled down with his current husband that he became a way better person and an amazing father to our son, having him 50% of the time and taking care of him. Even if my ex forgot about our son for 6 years, his parents didn't. They disowned their son but still wanted to be a part of my son's life. They are wealthy, so my son never missed anything in his life. They even contributed to my son's college and are paying for his apartment and expenses, so he doesn't worry about finding a part-time job. They got him every type of toy from ages 3 to 10. Those were expensive and amazing toys for a child. My son was so careful as a child, so the toys are as good as new. They're all packed and saved in a room at my house, waiting for my future grandkids to play with their dad's old toys. Here's the thing. My ex married this man and had kids. The twins are toddlers, and my ex called to say that he wanted to pick up some of my son's old toys to give to his kids. I had to call my son to see if he was okay with this, and he told me that he didn't really care and I could do what I wanted with the toys. So I told my ex that I decided to keep them for our future grandchildren because they're the ones who have the right to possess what their dad once owned. He called me a jerk for not letting his kids have the toys, since my son doesn't really care much about them, and there are kids around who can play with them, and this was also a way to connect with their big brother. I mean, I think I'd be the idiot if they couldn't afford it, but come on. Ex's husband is a dermatologist, and ex is an engineer, so they can afford toys. My husband thinks I'm an idiot for. The only reason is that they're unused now, and some other kids could be playing. But there's also a chance these kids are not as careful as my son and can get them broken. Not the idiot, but your ex is. He's an amazing father? Are you kidding? Amazing father? Suddenly he remembers he has a kid after 6 years? He dumped his kid for 6 years and then came back. That doesn't make him anything but an incredible idiot. Then he's mad at you for not giving him toys that clearly don't belong to him, and he probably didn't pay a dime since he abandoned you and your child. Don't care if he came out as gay. Has nothing to do with how he treated your son. Don't think twice about what he thinks of you. Don't give him anything. His new kids are his responsibility, not yours. The ex seems like a total idiot, and an entitled one at that. Notice in the post that he called OP and informed her he would be picking up the toys. He didn't even have the decency to ask his son first, or be polite about it. Then he called her a jerk for not giving in to his demands. That's verbal abuse. It seems like he thinks the world revolves around him. He's probably just bitter that his parents cut him off financially when he abandoned his first family. I'm male 38, have a lot of tattoos. It's just something I like. My mom hates each and every one. My mom, 61, loves me, and I love her. She does, however, have the most annoying hobby in the world. She loves asking me questions that I cannot answer. For example, this summer, I went to my cousin's, female 24, wedding. I haven't seen my cousin in 7 years. I live in a different state. But she asked me how my cousin met her fiance. I literally only knew about the wedding because my mom told me. I'll tell my mom that my son, Tween, is out at a friend's house for the night. She'll ask me where my son's friend's parents went to school. Those aren't even the most extreme examples. The worst was when she asked me how my sister got pregnant since she and her husband were using birth control. Like, how would I know? So I told her if she kept asking me questions like that, I would tattoo the words "no sé" on my forearm. That's Spanish for I don't know. Well, she asked about my brother-in-law's shoe size a week ago, so I saw her today, and my arm had the Sanoderm on it from a fresh tattoo. So she shuddered, crossed herself, and asked what I defiled my body with now. So I showed her. She got upset and called me a shameless idiot. And now she's mad at me for desecrating my body to make a childish point and embarrass her. I told her hundreds of times to stop asking me questions that I had no way of answering. She said she was just making conversation. I think she finally gets the point, but my dad called me and said I was an idiot for permanently marking my body to make my mom think before asking me a question. Am I the idiot? Honestly, you are missing great opportunities to make stuff up. Cousin's shoe size, I think it's a 15. I believe he has to custom order them from that same place that makes clown shoes. Somewhere in Missouri, I think. Not the idiot for the sheer commitment to the punchline. Bravo. Yes, ridiculous questions deserve ridiculous answers. How did the cousin meet his wife? Crazy story. She was riding in the roller coaster that hit him. It was love at first sight. So romantic. How'd sis get pregnant? Apparently, brother-in-law's liable to knock up anyone within a foot of him. Though I want to offer just one serious line. I'm sorry I upset you this much, Mom. That wasn't my intent, but it's just really frustrating and disheartening when you ask me questions I can't possibly know the answer to. I love you, Mom, you know I do. And I love talking with you, which becomes difficult to do with these questions. So can we talk about stuff we can talk about? I really like our conversations. Or something like that anyway. You are the idiot, OP. She's just making conversation with you. I also wouldn't take your mom's questioning as something she can necessarily control. Some people truly do talk without thinking, and while certainly annoying, they're not trying to be in most cases. I have an older coworker who is similar, but I suck it up and try not to call her out on it. I, 19 male, work as a mechanic, and our uniform is a set of blue pants and a blue shirt, but our company's name is on the side, and it's white with green accents, and I have a white lanyard for keys and stuff, and the lanyard part hangs out of my pocket. As for the story, I was recently invited to a family friend's wedding that I was kind of forced to go to, and during the reception, I got a call from a coworker asking if I could come in a little earlier than I was planning to make up for him. He's made shifts up for me several times before, so not only did I owe him, I didn't really want to be there anyway. So I quickly changed, told the groom, the family friend, and he thanked me for coming, and I left. His wife did look a little mad or annoyed at me, but I had to go, so I didn't really care. Later, I got a text from my sister telling me I made the bride angry and that she was mad, and I was wearing white. I was confused and said that the patch was the only white part. She said that the bride said the lanyard was too. I said that I had just said bye to the groom and wasn't there for very long, and that it was so small. She said that the rest of them were mad at me, and I did get a quite strongly worded message from the bride later. I told her she was ridiculous, as there was such little white it shouldn't matter at all, and it was just at a reception. She told me that I was being ridiculous, and that some other family members and friends were siding with her, since it was her wedding day. I'm starting to think I'm an idiot since the invites did say no white very specifically. I guess I could have changed in my car or anywhere else after leaving, or I could have apologized to try and soothe the situation. Am I the idiot? OMG, not the idiot. Tell Bridezilla to get over herself. What you were wearing is no comparison to wearing white to someone else's wedding. Not even a little bit. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe she was just a Bridezilla, or probably both. But you did absolutely nothing wrong, and anyone else who agrees with her is just as ridiculous as she is. But he outshone her in his white patch and white lanyard. How could anyone possibly tell that she was the bride at the wedding and the focus of the happy event when OP dares to take attention away from her in his glamorous work overalls and lanyard? Wow, dude, you must have been really pretty for people to mistake you for a bride. I wonder if she'd be mad at me for wearing my very white skin to her wedding. A male with a white patch and a lanyard being mistaken for the bride? Unless we're missing out on some vital information, i.e. the lanyard was a diamante-encrusted 8-foot lace veil with the majority of it attached to your head and only a tiny corner tucked into your pocket as you processioned out of the room humming "Here Comes the Bride," I think there is a strong possibility that she was being a complete idiot. I, female 32, met my boyfriend, male 36, 3 months ago at the airport in the new city I moved to. He's a single dad of 2 kids, a young child and tween. I've never met them, not yet, but I saw pictures of them. He says it's too early for his kids to meet me. It's for their mental health, and I respect that. However, I do send them, a bit costly, gifts every weekend, and my boyfriend assured me that he would tell them eventually where these gifts are coming from. He didn't call or reply to my text for a whole week. He then contacted me, saying his kid was in the hospital for an injury. I felt terrible for him. I offered to visit, but he said that there was no need for me to do this, but suggested I send gifts instead to cheer him up. He later called me saying that he was busy all day, trying to come up with the money to pay for his son's surgery. We talked some. Then he asked if I could lend him $5,000 to help pay for the surgery. I have to say that I was caught off guard, but he said that he felt so heavy making this request but had no one else willing to help but me. The thing is, I worked hard to save up the money that's in my account, and I don't feel comfortable letting go of $5,000 all at once. He said it's fine if I don't feel comfortable, but then started bringing it up, saying he's in dire need of help, and the surgery needed to happen next week under the doctor's recommendation. I started feeling the pressure, but he promised that he'd have me meet his son and his other son right after he gets done with the surgery, which is great, but again, the money is a lot. $5,000 is a lot of money. I refused eventually, and he got upset with me and kept on about how cruel I was and how little I cared about his kids and him. But I swore it wasn't like this, but he hung up on me, saying he needed to get some fresh air. Later, he sent me a photo of his son's arm with an IV drip attached to it. I cried when I saw it, and I called him, but he didn't reply. I'm still refusing to pay, but a friend of mine says I should do it and have some sort of contract in place to ensure I get the money back. Am I the idiot for not wanting to pay? So you met this man 3 months ago. I'm all for the benefit of the doubt, but 3 months does not warrant expensive gifts for children I haven't met, or $5,000 for surgery on one of his said children. Then suggested I send gifts instead. That tells you how he sees you, a cash cow. Did he say what exactly is the health problem and what the surgery is? You are someone he's known for 3 months, someone who's never met his kids, someone who's never been to his house, someone his kids don't even know exist, but you are the only person he can get a loan from? If he's that desperate, he'll get an official loan, go through insurance, contact family, the kid's mother, friends, and literally anyone but you. Stop buying expensive gifts for these people. I really hope you're not this naive. This is a major scam. He's not your boyfriend, and there are no kids. You were talked into giving this man gifts every weekend as a sort of test to see how gullible you are. You proved this, so now he's bypassing gifts and aiming for actual cash. Block this man and learn from this. The kids might actually be real. Scammers can have kids too, but the surgery's certainly not. The fake urgency betrays him. OP, he doesn't need the money to pay for the surgery before the surgery even happens. Doctors will not and cannot refuse an important surgery on a patient, even if they have no insurance. Girl, run. This is a scam. You've never met the kids. You don't have proof they exist. He sent you a picture of an arm with an IV that could be anyone's. After you said no, he started emotionally blackmailing you. You're also sending gifts to these kids every week? This whole story is one red flag after another. You send them that money and you will never see it or him again. Update. I've seen his kid's arm picture. I'm pretty certain it's real, but I have been thinking of doing a surprise visit to the hospital or asking around to see if his story is valid. Still refusing to pay. Also, I already confirmed that he's a single dad. I did my own investigation, and it turned out that yes, he's a divorced single dad of 2. I have 3 daughters, Phoebe 19, Allie 18, and Janie teen. We also have a 2-year-old Chewini, Chihuahua Wiener Dog mix, Pebble. We were in the middle of a heat wave 2 weeks ago, with temperatures hitting 107. Small dogs are more sensitive to heat, so we don't let them go to the backyard for long periods of time, and the deck is off limits because there's no shade on the deck. The problem is, Pebble loves the deck because he can just watch the cars and people walking on the trail behind our house and see our neighbors' chickens. Janie doesn't have first period and doesn't leave for school until 10 a few days a week. Both Allie and Phoebe leave between 9 and 9:30, so it's Janie's responsibility to make sure Pebble is inside, the fans are on, and he has water. 2 weeks ago, in the worst of the heat wave, Pebble was crying at the deck door. Janie got annoyed and let him go on the deck. Then she left for school and left him on the deck. Allie came home a few hours later and started looking for Pebble. She found him passed out on the deck and called me sobbing. I left work early and took him to the emergency vet. They treated him for heat stroke. He had to stay at the vet for a few days, and Allie was inconsolable while he was gone. She was constantly crying. She wouldn't eat or leave her room, and she had a panic attack every time the phone rang because she was terrified that the vet was telling us that Pebble was gone. Pebble made a full recovery, but now we have an expensive vet bill, and Allie still has extreme anxiety about losing Pebble. Janie's upset because Allie hasn't spoken to her since she forgot Pebble on the deck, and Phoebe rarely speaks to her and doesn't hang out with her anymore. Janie was upset about Pebble when he was in the vet, but now she's very nonchalant about what happened because he's fine. My husband and I have been talking about what to do with Janie. We decided on making her get a job to pay for Pebble's vet expenses, close to $2,000 after insurance. However, Janie's very upset about it because she has to quit the swim team to get a job and says we're ruining her life over a mistake. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'm the idiot for making her quit the swim team to get a job. Also, she can't get a job after swim season because soccer season starts right after swim season. Then after soccer season, she has softball season and then summer training camps. We are ruining her life over a mistake that nearly killed a family member. Not the idiot. She knew the routine and knew better than to let the dog out on the deck in the first place. It doesn't matter how annoying he was. You don't gamble your dog's safety for some peace. Agree with you. I don't understand all the people saying it was a mistake and she learned from it. The mistake nearly killed an innocent life. Glad the dog turned out okay, but that is one heck of a mistake. The worst part is she doesn't even feel bad about it now that the dog is okay. Nuh-uh. Nothing about this is okay. Make her get a job and pay the bill. I'd even suggest keeping a very close eye around her and the dog from now on, too. I gave it a lot of thought, and here's my judgment. Everyone's the idiot here. And here's why. Janie was upset over Pebble's time in the vet. No doubt she already felt guilty and was traumatized by her mistake. Her sisters are being super nasty about it, making things worse. And on top of that, you want to make her take an action that would adversely affect her academically? And yes, sports is a part of academics. Further, at 15, her job options and hours are super limited. It will 100% take her several months to repay you. So you would be taking months out of her life. So ground her. No hanging out with friends. If she gets an allowance, don't give her her allowance until the bill is paid off. Janie needs to have a punishment that's appropriate so that she learns from her mistake. Basically, my daughter got pregnant young, which was about 12 years ago. My wife and I pleaded with her to end it, but she wouldn't have it, insisting she would be a super mom and raise the child alone, which she has done a decent job at. To this day, she hasn't said who the father is, so no child support, and she manages to take care of her daughter. Now, we had life kickstart funds set up for both kids, pools of money that could be used for college, trade school, a down payment on a house if they managed to get a great job without school, and of course to help with any grandkids that came along if they had them early, so they wouldn't have to struggle to afford daycare while working to support the family. Obviously, my daughter used hers on her child. My son did trade school and is now an electrician. My son owns a house, is married, and has his act together. My daughter isn't doing bad. She makes all her bills and rents a nice house, but her quality of life isn't as good as her brother's, in her own words. Being a single mom has also made dating hard for her. Lately, she's been complaining more and more to us about how it's not fair how life turned out, that someone as lazy as her brother, an adult that still watches cartoons and plays video games. She sees something wrong with that. I don't. Has a spouse and a house and an easy life, while someone who's been working since 16 like her does not. And while I do feel bad for her, she made her choices, and I'm fed up with listening to her complain. I've told her as much. She and her mom are mad at me now, saying I'm being a misogynistic pig idiot. Am I? Not the idiot. She decided to keep the baby. There was nobody to blame but herself. I don't particularly appreciate how she talks down to her brother, who she calls lazy, and downplays the work needed to complete a trade school and work as an electrician. LMAO, imagine the lack of self-awareness it takes to say playing video games as an employed adult is a wrong decision, while simultaneously wondering without sarcasm why becoming a single-teen mom hasn't yielded better results. OP's got one bright kid and another kid. I don't see what's misogynistic about that, unless it's just how you worded it when you told her you're fed up with hearing her complain. But all you did was tell her a harsh truth. Assuming you gave your daughter and son the same amount of funds, you gave them both equal and fair amounts. The only reason their lives are so different is that she chose to have a kid. Maybe you were a bit harsh, but sometimes a harsh truth is necessary. I had a kid at 16, worked my butt off and graduated. Sometimes had to work 2 jobs. I never blamed anyone else for my situation either. She decided to have the kid. I'm now 39 and my kid is 22. She sounds like she's jealous and the lazy one. She could have made different life decisions. She could have worked harder. If she's concerned about finances, why doesn't she look into child support from her child's father? At least it would make the child's life easier. Since she's chosen not to do that, she shouldn't complain about her lifestyle. One of her exes came from a loaded family. I've long assumed he was probably the dad, the way she acts. It's not like he wouldn't have money to fight tooth and nail to get custody if he wanted. She's worried he'd file for full custody if he found out, so she won't tell us because she doesn't want it to get out. Background. My mom has me, teen female, and my brothers Nico, nearly adult, and Shay, 18, with our dad. He died on my 5th birthday suddenly. Mom was young and had the 3 of us, and she ended up meeting our stepdad less than a year later. I think it was about 2 years after my dad died that she introduced him to us as her boyfriend, and they married fast after that. At the time, my mom and my stepdad wanted him to adopt us and change our last names to his so we could be a legal family and share a family name. We had said no, but they went through the process for the adoption, and when it came time for court, the judge took us aside, and we spoke to him and expressed that we did not want to be adopted or to have our last name changed. It's not something I remember the best because at the time I was really upset, but the judge turned down the adoption request and the change of name request. My grandma said the judge told my mom and stepdad that he didn't want to leave us feeling even more robbed of our dad by illegally taking away his name and his ties to us. After all that, my stepdad tried so hard to get us to start calling him Dad. He always called us his kids, his daughters/sons, etc. But he made for a real emphasis on how much he wanted to be our dad and how he wanted to feel us accept him in that kind of way. Mom would sit and tell us how we were blessed to have 2 dads, one in heaven who looked down on us and one who was with us on earth and could raise us and be the parent we needed. She said embracing him as our dad would be such a positive thing. My brothers and I never did call him Dad. Mom had more kids with our stepdad who called him Dad, but it was always a problem that we didn't. My oldest brother graduated last year, and he moved out soon after. He graduated early and some things went down, resulting in Mom and stepdad bringing Nico and me to therapy with them. 4 weeks ago, during therapy, my mom and stepdad brought up how tired he is at feeling like he's raised us for nothing because we never show him the love he believes he deserves, and we don't show him the respect he wants by denying him the title of dad. They said he's very close to leaving, so Mom asked if either of us would consider trying to be more open to the idea and would at least refer to him as a dad to others even if we don't call him Dad to his face. I said I would never be okay with it. My brother said the same. Mom cried and my stepdad, well, I think that was a breaking point for him. It feels like their marriage is all but over, and deep down I know they blame my brothers and me. I hate seeing my mom so upset. My stepdad can't hide the fact he's angry with us over it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They tried to force the adoption down your throats when none of you wanted it, and now he says this is a deal breaker for the marriage? If that's true, he never really wanted a marriage. He just wanted to be a dad. Which, considering they had kids together, he is. And if he's considering leaving because his stepchildren aren't calling him Dad, well, he has real children who do. I don't know, he seems weird. You shouldn't raise kids for gratitude or reward. Instead, you should do it because it's the right thing to do. Exactly. Also, I guess other things are going on with the marriage. OP, they try to blame you and your brother. Your mom and your stepdad have serious issues in their marriage, and their emotional manipulation to receive gratification by your submission is just wrong and borderline abusive. I'm so sorry you've gone through that. None of that is your fault, OP. I have an old friend, Hannah, who became friends with my girlfriend, Ellie, too. Hannah has a husband who's a great guy, but is a doormat and does whatever Hannah wants. Hannah and Ellie have been hanging out together more and more recently, and they picked up the habit of Ellie talking about something about us and me, Hannah telling her how great her husband always does whatever she wants and enables her bad habits, then Ellie coming home and picking a fight with me because I'm not like Hannah's husband. It's often about finances and irresponsible spending. For example, Ellie wants to buy herself a bicycle despite never cycling and complaining whenever we rent her a bike and go for a ride together. She, of course, wants to use our shared savings for that, so I said no. Hannah also wants a new expensive bicycle, despite already having a good bike. So Ellie came home telling me Hannah's husband is so supportive and wants to buy her the bike for her birthday. I'm sick of Hannah constantly making our relationship her business, and finally had enough after this bicycle incident. So I blew up on Hannah and told her to stop inserting herself into our relationship and talking about her enabling doormat husband like the gold standard for men. Hannah told me that she never says anything bad about me or our relationship to Ellie. She talks about her own relationship, and it's my fault if that makes Ellie realize that her standards are too low and that I'm too controlling. So instead of blaming her, I should look inwards and listen to Ellie's problems. I was very angry at this point and told Hannah that no matter how hard she tried to manipulate my relationship, I would never turn into a subservient server like her husband, and she should probably watch out because I could sense a divorce coming her way if she keeps it up like this. Since then, I have calmed down a bit, and now I think that the last part may have been a bit too much, but I feel like it was justified. Hannah's not talking to me, and I wonder which one of us owes the other an apology. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. First, you come off as super controlling. Second, your girlfriend is her own person and should be able to talk to whomever she wants about whatever she wants without you becoming insecure. Third, it comes off like your girlfriend has needs that aren't being met and you're unwilling to meet them. Fourth, you come off like you don't see your partner as an equal. You see her as beneath you. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if your girlfriend eventually left you. I get the feeling that OP's definition of doormat might be closer to a lot of our definitions of a supportive partner. Neither my husband nor I are doormats, but we are generally supportive of what the other wants to do, especially if whatever has no real impact on the other. But oh, she never cycles, except he rents her a bike when they go on rides. It's weird you keep thinking a loving, generous marriage marks the husband as subservient. Hannah did nothing wrong. She just talked about her relationship, and your outburst proves her point about you being too controlling, because instead of communicating with your partner about your shared expectations regarding relationships, you decided to control the input she gets from her surroundings.